Eurodollar is not something where euros are converted to dollars and dollars converted back to euros. It is a financial innovation that has taken place several years back that gives the power for dollars to be scaled up and scaled down without actually affecting the inflation that takes place within the portals of US. What is this innovation and what is Eurodollars? Stay tuned.
All right, we're about to pull back the curtain on a massive, multi-trillion-dollar financial system that basically powers the entire global economy. And here's the thing, most people have never even heard of it. It's called the Eurodollar system.
So let me just start with this question. What if I told you that there are trillions, and I mean trillions of US dollars out there that are created, lent out, and spent, all completely outside the control of the US government or the Federal Reserve? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Like something from a movie. But it's not. It's very, very real. So, how in the world do we get our heads around something this big and complicated? Well, we're going to use a really clever analogy. I want you to just forget all the complex finance stuff for a minute, and instead just picture a simple hotel. Honestly, this one story is the key, pun intended, to understanding the whole thing.
Okay, so first things first, we have to start with the basics. What exactly is a US dollar when it's not actually, in the US?
A Eurodollar is, simply put, a US dollar that's on deposit in a bank anywhere outside of the United States. Could be London, could be Tokyo, doesn't matter. But here is the absolute most important part. It is not a physical dollar bill. It's just a bookkeeping entry. Think of it as an IOU, a promise from that foreign bank that they'll give you a real dollar if you ever ask for one.
So, if these aren't actual physical dollars, where do they come from? And this, my friends, is where our hotel analogy really kicks in. This is all about printing keys, not building rooms.
Okay, so picture a huge international bank as our Eurodollar hotel. It's got a really simple business model. You can walk in and deposit any currency you want, Japanese yen, euros, whatever. In exchange, the hotel gives you a key, and on that key it says USD room. Now here's the secret sauce, the trick to the whole thing. The hotel can create and hand out a nearly unlimited number of these keys, even though it has very, very few actual rooms.
Yeah, this sounds a little bit like magic, doesn't it? I mean, how can you just create $1 billion, or what acts like $1 billion, when the US Treasury hasn't printed a single new bill? Let's just walk through a real-world example. A big Japanese company deposits, say, 150 billion yen into our Eurodollar hotel. The hotel instantly, and I mean instantly, just creates 1 million keys labeled USD room and gives them to the company. But what's really important is what didn't happen. No new hotel rooms were built. No actual US dollars were moved from an American bank. The bank just created a promise on its books. So you see, these keys, these Eurodollars, they're just promises, nothing more. And the only reason they have any value at all, the only reason anyone on Earth would accept them as payment, is because everyone trusts that the hotel, the bank, is good for it. Trust is the invisible glue holding this entire system together. Okay, so one bank can print a key, fine. But how does this scale up into a global multi-trillion-dollar system? Well, let's take a look at how this one little hotel becomes a massive worldwide chain. So that Japanese company, it now pays its suppliers around the world by just transferring some of its keys. And then those suppliers might lend or trade their keys to other companies. And as long as everybody is using the same hotel chain, the same network of offshore banks, all they're doing is passing keys back and forth. And that is what is so incredibly powerful about this system. No actual rooms get used, no real US dollars ever have to move. And the Federal Reserve, it's not even in the picture, it's a total bystander.
Now this all seems perfectly neat and self-contained, doesn't it? A bit too perfect. So what happens when someone gets tired of just holding a key and decides they actually want to unlock a door and go into a room?
This is the moment of truth. A company turns to the hotel and says, "Hey, thanks for this key, it's been great, but I don't want the promise anymore. I need to spend this money in the US, I need an actual room now." And right there, everything changes. The fantasy world of promises and keys suddenly has to connect with the physical world of actual US dollars sitting in the actual US banking system. The hotel's promise is being called in. So how does the hotel scramble and find a real room?
Well, the offshore bank has to get its hands on actual US dollars. It can do this in a few ways. It might borrow them overnight from other banks, or use fancy financial tools like currency swaps. Or it might just pull cash from its own branch in New York. But no matter how it does it, this is that one single moment when the transaction has to touch the official plumbing of the US financial system.
But, and this is the real secret to why the whole thing works, this reality check moment is unbelievably rare. I mean, the vast majority of transactions, we're talking well over 99%, are just keys being swapped for other keys, all within that offshore system. The need for a real room is a tiny exception, not the rule.
All right, so let's tie this all together. How does this gigantic hotel, built almost entirely on a foundation of promises, manage to stay standing day after day, year after year?
I mean, look at how perfectly this analogy maps onto the real world. The room keys? Those are Eurodollars. The actual rooms? That's real, tangible US dollars. The hotel chain is just a big global bank like HSBC or Deutsche Bank. Printing keys is just their term for creating dollar liabilities on their books. And asking to enter a room, that's when money finally has to leave the Eurodollar system and enter the domestic US one. It's a one-to-one match.
If you remember just one single thing from all of this, let it be this right here. Eurodollars are like hotel room keys. There are way more keys out there than there are actual rooms. And the system works, quite simply, because most of the time, everyone is perfectly happy just trading the keys among themselves.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This whole thing sounds incredibly fragile, doesn't it? Kind of like a house of cards built on trust and promises. So the really obvious question is, why isn't it constantly collapsing? Well, its day-to-day stability really rests on three main pillars. First, there's a deep level of trust between all the major global banks in the system. Second, it's just the law of large numbers. On any given day, not everyone is going to show up and demand a real dollar all at the same time. And third, the flows in and out are usually pretty balanced. For every customer who wants to take a real dollar out, there's usually another one putting a real dollar in. They pretty much cancel each other out.
And that, of course, leads us to the final, really provocative thought. The system is stable, right up until the moment it's not. What happens on that one bad day? The day when trust just evaporates, when there's a panic in the markets and suddenly everybody is running to the front desk, keys in hand, all demanding a real room at the exact same moment? Well, that's when things get interesting. And that's a story for another time.
You've got to be asking, why? Why was this whole shadow system even necessary in the first place? Well, to answer that, we have to jump in a time machine and see how the US dollar basically escaped from its own home country. It all kicks off right after World War II. An agreement called Bretton Woods basically made the US dollar the world's go-to currency. Suddenly, everyone needed dollars for everything: oil, food, you name it. But here's the catch. All those dollars were technically inside the US, controlled by US rules. And during the Cold War, countries like the USSR and China started getting really nervous. They thought, hey, what if the US just cuts us off? The solution they came up with? It was brilliant. Just keep your dollars in a bank in, say, London or Zurich, far away from Washington's reach.
Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. How in the world do these offshore banks just create dollars? They don't have a printing press? It honestly feels like a magic trick, but it's actually the secret behind all modern banking. Let's just walk through a really simple example. Let's say a company in China needs $1 billion US, but they want to avoid any US oversight. So they go to a big bank in London, not New York. They deposit $1 billion worth of some other currency, maybe Japanese yen. In return, the London bank just updates a number in their computer. They credit the company's account with a balance of $1 billion US. That's it. No physical cash ever moved from America. It's just a digital entry, a promise from the bank that says, we owe you $1 billion.
So are these dollars really just created out of thin air? Well, yeah, pretty much. But here's the crazy part. That's exactly how your own local bank creates money when it gives you a loan. The huge crucial difference here is the oversight. See, inside the US, the Fed is watching, setting rules. In the Eurodollar system, there's no central authority, no single regulator. It's a system built almost entirely on trust between giant international banks. That's why people call it shadow banking.
And that right there brings us to the absolute core of this whole thing. This is the big aha moment. So what is a Eurodollar, really? A Eurodollar isn't a fake dollar. It's not a piece of paper. It's a dollar-denominated promise. It's an IOU from a bank. It's a form of credit that the rest of the world has agreed is just as good as a real dollar sitting in a bank in New York. And these promises, well, they're the lifeblood of global finance. And don't for a second think this is some niche financial product. This is the system that prices oil all over the world. It funds the giant container ships carrying everything you buy. It sets interest rates that affect loans everywhere. This is the absolute engine room of the global economy.
And if you really want your mind blown by the scale we're talking about, just look at this. The official regulated US banking system, the one we all know about, it's about $20 trillion. The offshore unregulated Eurodollar system is estimated to be at least 5 times larger. It is a gigantic hidden financial system that completely dwarfs the one we can actually see.
So, to wrap this all up, let's use one final analogy that I think just perfectly captures what the Eurodollar system is all about. Think of it as the world's financial plumbing.
So, first things first, the US dollar itself is like water. It's the essential fluid that makes global commerce flow.
And of course, the United States, through the Federal Reserve, they own the main reservoir. They control the official source of that water.
But here's the kicker. The rest of the world built its own massive, sprawling, underground network of pipes to move that water everywhere it's needed, instantly. And this network of pipes, the Eurodollar system, it moves way more water on any given day than the official reservoir itself. It's an incredible piece of financial engineering, but it's totally hidden from view.
And that leaves us with one final and pretty critical question. The entire world economy runs on this hidden plumbing. It's essential, it's efficient, it's enormous. But it leaves us with this one kind of unsettling thought. If nobody is really in charge, who's watching the pipes?